Thank you, and I will give the floor to Ms. Lantsman.
You mentioned in your opening comments that public trust was the most important, so I want to speak to this motion. On October 17th, the CBC published a false headline based on dangerous disinformation that incorrectly stated that Israel was responsible for the explosion at the hospital in Gaza that resulted in the deaths of innocent civilians. And if you don't have it, I have it right here. That is the headline. It says, hundreds killed in Israeli airstrike on Gaza City Hospital, Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza says. And that was since changed, if you don't have this, to Palestinians say hundreds killed in Israeli airstrike on hospital. Israel blames Islamic Jihad. This still lives on the CBC website. So this headline, it's still there. It remains on the website. And I would hope that you would agree with me that, in fact, the Palestinian Health Authority is controlled by Hamas. I think that is a fact. The Prime Minister, the Minister of National Defense, the United States, the British and French governments all have definitively said that the attack did not come from Israel. So why won't the CBC?
If I may bring the members' attention to the facts and correct the record. CBC first reported on the terrifically horrific attack or a bomb in the hospital in the Gaza Strip based on an Associated Press report that is a trusted source of news for us. You'll notice if you go to cbc.ca or radiocanada.ca, we often use news feeds from other trusted, reputable news organizations. And we sourced and we cited the source of that information, as Madam Lantsman has just pointed out. 90 minutes later, when we received the corrected information, we also updated the site. I just would like to say, we stand behind our journalism. In conflicts and in war, news comes at a very fast rate, and people are claiming on both sides of the story. Our journalists on the ground and in our newsrooms are obliged to measure and take account.
I appreciate that's an Associated Press article, and your mandate is to, you are responsible to Canadians. It's $1.4 billion of taxpayer money. But you said that that you stand by the statement. Palestinians say hundreds killed in Israeli airstrike on Israel Hospital. Israel blames Islamic Jihad. That still exists. It is a headline that has been debunked by governments across the world, including even our own Prime Minister, albeit 7 days late. So I want to know if you'll apologize to Jewish Canadians. I want to know if you'll apologize to Canadians. And I want to know when we can expect a retraction from CBC.
Mr. President, I will, Mr. Chair, Monsieur le Président, I will not apologize because the journalism is among the finest in the world. Our journalists operate in an independent fashion, independent of management, independent of the board of directors, and independent of government and political influence. They are guided by the journalistic standards and practices, and I invite any member and any Canadian to refer to these practices on our website. They are transparent and they are public, and if you have a concern, anyone has a concern with our journalism, I invite you to address it to the independent ombudsman en français ou en anglais in order to have them independently investigate and review the application
Madam Chair,
of our
I understand
journalism.
that you're not going to apologize for printing disinformation, but how can the CBC, who's committed to truth, who's committed to standards, not call Hamas terrorists? We saw a leaked memo from the Director of Journalistic Standards, that's Mr. Achi, who sent a directive to journalists for saying not using to not use or describe Hamas as a terrorist group. You do agree, it is fact that that Hamas has been listed as a terrorist organization in 2002 in this country, correct?
I will address the issue as follows, Mr. Chair. And I think there's a fantastic blog by our head of news, Brodie Fenlon, which you can refer to. He does this very often to comment on making journalism transparent, explaining to Canadians how we do the journalism. And in the case of attribution, this is a policy that we have had at CBC Radio-Canada for over several decades. It is shared and mirrored by many other reputable news organizations, including the Globe and Mail, the BBC, Agence France Presse, Reuters, and any number of other agencies. So I would just say the attribution, we use the word terrorist and terrorism and acknowledge that Canada, the UK, and the US consider Hamas a terrorist organization, but we, as journalists, do not make that attribution.
Merci, Madame Lantsman. Madame Lantsman, merci. Votre temps est écoulé. Vous aurez l'occasion de vous reprendre un prochain.